Hi guys, and welcome back to LPB Racing for the WEC Replica Championship on Project Cars 2. This is race 2 from Le Mans, and we are starting this one at night. Footman is on pole for LMP 1, and then we've got Callum on pole for GTE. So we're getting ready for a start. And it's lights out, away we go. Blatney with a stonking start there. And so does Stacker in the two Toyotas. The two Toyotas get off really well there. And then the GT pack behind as well with the yellow lights there. So as we go into turn one, Stacker almost close together with Growly Bear there. And then the two Toyotas go through. Blatney goes a bit wide. There's GT battle has ended in tears. There's spins everywhere, there's cars trying to get going, so something major happened there we didn't quite see, but again we'll get a replay after the first lap settles down. Meanwhile, back at the LMP1 group, we've got Arzadar Blade there. He's actually in the LMP1 class this time because he's not had the hybrid working on the car, but we found a fix for it and it works. So the next race he'll be back in the Corvette and the Marek, so rather than the Ford GT. So there he is, he's got going and he's doing well there, and he's drafting Growly Bear down the straight, and then we've got Keith following behind as well. Growly Bear topping out in that RWD, the Marek with a bit more top end speed than the others. As we go into the chicane, Footman's at the chicane first. Then it's Stacker, Blatney, Arzadar, Keith and Growly all together as one. Remember, Keith's not got the top end in that Audi compared to the others around him, so the RWD will close up. As the others into the GT into the chicane, Sarex and Callum spin round, TY goes off, and Bidzster gets a nice little present there, goes straight from the mid-pack to the lead. Incredible, so the GT battle's really hotted up here. So Bidzster takes the lead after being about 11th going in, and then there go the rest, tearing down the straight. And then there's the LMP1 boys reach the second chicane. We've got Arzadar Blade with Keith and Growly Bear right behind him still. So Keith's still ahead of Growly Bear in the Audi, but then Growly Bear gets going in the RWD with the acceleration and passes him right round the outside. The Audi a lot better in the second half of the circuit where they've got all the technical bit. That's where the Audi shines. As we come down towards Mulsanne corner, Footman in the lead. Blatney's out braking himself, almost hits the other Toyota, but no harm done as everyone else folds through there. Meanwhile, the GT battle, they've just come out the second chicane and they're coming down the Mulsanne straight, drafting each other now. Bidzster in the lead from Callum, TY, Stevie, James Deluxe, all as quick as that, down into Mulsanne corner. Right, wrong button there, and then we go into Mulsanne corner, and everyone nicely through there. TY gets a good run out, so no dramas yet. As we go into Indianapolis with the LMP1 group, Arzadar looked a bit hot in today, but gets the car stopped just about as they go up towards Arnage. Arzadar's not going to hit the brakes in time and goes straight off almost into the wall. I think he's going to be joining. Has to emergency stop there to avoid Arzadar, but good reactions there by Keith. But Arzadar and Keith pushing each other on the straight. Oh, very close indeed. No holds barred in this LMP1 battle. As we look at the GTE boys into Indianapolis, we've got TY on the back of Callum. TY doing quite well in this so far, as we've got a little Neil struggling in the background. Callum goes a bit wide, TY gets a good run, Stevie can't get close enough. There's Neil Farmack in the Corvette, struggling a bit just to get used to that car. And there's Sarex in the Ferrari. As we look at the LMP1 battle, they are approaching the end of the first lap, down towards the Ford chicane. As we look at Footman's already in there, Footman's already in the chicane. And then here come the two Toyotas, followed by the RWD of Growly Bear. There they go, all the way through the chicane. Very nicely done there by everyone. Arzadar's gone backwards, so he's had a spin somewhere, a definite spin there for Arzadar. And damage is off, even though it is showing that there is damage on that car, even though damage is completely off. So that's, again, I mentioned that in the last race, so I'll not rant on about that too much. As Bidzster comes through leading the GTE battle here. And from Callum, Stevie, James Deluxe, TY's gone backwards, TY spun there. Now, was he assisted or not? So again, we'll get all those replays of that first lap action in now. Okay, here's the first replay from the first lap, so watching the first corner. Into the first corner we go, and then Neil gets on the curb there, brakes, loses control of the back end, hits Stevie, and that was just completely Neil making a mistake and Neil's fault, but still, Neil waits up for Stevie to rejoin like a gentleman, and then we all resume. Okay, here's a replay of all the controversy that happened at the first chicane with the GTE class. So you can see Callum goes in here, loses the back end, and then Sarex goes in and panics and loses his back end as well. Then TY brakes to avoid all the carnage. Then Bidzster goes, "Thank you everyone, I'll take that any day. Looks like it's my birthday," and then goes straight through, and then everyone rejoins. Here's an onboard with Keith to see the scare that he got that Arzadar gave him. So you can see Arzadar off the road there. Comes back on track, and then goes straight in front of Keith there. Didn't keep to the wall. Goes straight in front of Keith. Luckily Keith saw him, and then on the straight Arzadar comes across and just a little tap, and then on his way. And now here's a replay of what happened to Arzadar at the Porsche curve. So he goes into it, and then just for some reason just goes completely straight on. So I must have thought that the track went another way or had some kind of problem, but that looked a bit weird. But reverses into the wall and then ends up trying to find a gear and gets going and goes straight through the gravel and rejoins the track. And here's what happened in the GT battle. So TY behind Stevie closes up and the braking slides the car, can't control it, gets on the grass and then rejoins. And then as he rejoins, he's on the grass again, following James Deluxe, both and trying to mow the grass. Then as we come around this long corner here, TY goes quite well round here, and then as he goes out of this corner here, goes up onto the curb and then spins the car and then just loses the back end, does a half spin, and then onto the grass and then ends up in last place. So as we come back from all those replays, Footman in the lead then out of Tetra Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. And then we've got the two Toyotas, Blakeney and Stacker. Remember, they're not teammates, the teammates are split over the different classes. Split over the different classes. So Blakeney there from Stacker, then Growly Bear closing up on the Toyota, but again the Toyota has a bit more top speed than the RWD. This is the RWD. You can hear it bouncing off the rev limiter there. So the RWD good on the acceleration, but not on the top end speed. So that's one thing that doesn't help Growly Bear here, but he gets good acceleration off the corner, but so does the Toyota. So the RWD a bit better in the corners than the Toyota is, but again, still racing quite close to each other here. As we look back at the GT boys, we've got Callum from Stevie now, and obviously with the absence of TY going further back. Then we've got James Deluxe in there somewhere. There he is. So there's Stevie, there's Callum in the lead, and Bidzster in the lead, then Callum, we'll get it right, then Stevie, then James Deluxe, Cyrex and Neil, and then TY a bit further back, so that's a bit spread out there. As we watch Stacker and Growly Bear, that seems to be the battle on track at the moment, coming down towards the Mulsanne corner at the end of the Mulsanne straight. Remember back in the day, there didn't used to be any chicanes on the Mulsanne straight. It used to be a complete 4-mile stretch of road that you could get up to 240 mile/hour plus in. It was absolutely brilliant, but obviously 1989 they put the chicanes in for safety reasons. As Blakeney makes a little mistake there at the Mulsanne corner, that'll not help him as all three close up. But yet they have put the chicanes in 1989 to try and slow the cars down, because the top end, because with the technological advance of the cars and how fast the cars were getting, they were getting really ridiculously fast, approaching 250 mile/hour at the end of the straight, at the end of the 80s, as we come down towards Indianapolis. And these modern cars into Indianapolis, onto the brakes. Blakeney still in second place, Stacker closing up round the corner. Blakeney not as confident round the corners as Stacker is, I don't think. Growly Bear waiting in the wings just to see if he can make a move, as Stacker hits the anchors hard, and Growly Bear's, if he had a horn, he'd be beeping his horn saying, "Come on, move it." As we go down to Mulsanne corner with the GTE boys. Stevie taking quite a wide line there, but gets away with it. James Deluxe, then we've got Neil and Cyrex quite close together as well. So Neil's past Cyrex there, so probably gone Corvette powers. Stevie spun out of Mulsanne corner, then we see him go across the road as TY goes through. So where's Stevie? There he is. So he's made a mistake there, so we'll get a replay on that as well. Okay, here's a replay of what happened to Stevie on lap 2. So Mulsanne corner, this is where we saw him. Then he went a little bit wide, but then we stay with him this time. Goes onto the gravel, gives it a whole boot of power, ends up doing a nice parallel park to the wall. And then as he tries to rejoin here in front of TY, but then ends up coming around and hitting the wall. And then rejoins the track. So as we come back to the leader then, Footman approaching the Ford chicane. The pit window is in between lap 4 and 8, so nowhere near that yet. But he's doing a nice consistent job out in front, doing what he does best. So Footman showing that he can contend for this championship, obviously, because I know he's in the slower class, but again he's dominating that slower class at the minute. He's proving himself a real talent here, and he's pulling away. As Blakeney goes out the corner but loses hybrid, and then Growly Bear closes up, but now Blakeney's got hybrid power. So again, it's all about how much battery you use in a lap. If you've got some battery left over at the end of the start-finish straight, it does help. But then again, when you get your boost back over the start-finish line, when you get a new lap worth of juice in the battery, then you do get a lot of boost because you'll have saved up a bit more than the other car. So it is all about using that hybrid energy to the best of your ability and knowing when the time to save is and when the time to use it is. As you go out of Tetra Rouge and Blaney goes a bit wide there, that could be a track limits call, but still got to be careful. As Growly Bear closes up to the back. And then Stacker as well. So very close indeed there. Down the straight, in the toe of each other there, down the straight, towards that first chicane. As we look back at RZR Blade, he's on the straight now, so Keith isn't too far ahead of him. As we go into the chicane, Growly Bear still trying to catch Blakeney. Stacker gone a bit further back here, so all maintains the same. As we look back at the GT battle, James Deluxe and Cyrex just coming across the line there. Bidzster pulling away in this. Bidzster's already at the Dunlop chicane. There he is, going through the Dunlop chicane and out of it in the Porsche. Obviously Bidzster very comfortable with Le Mans, one of his favourite tracks. And a few of the people in here do like the track, but some people don't. It's a complete 50-50 with people, but you know, each to their own. And Cyrex goes through there in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Down through the Dunlop section into the S's. And then down towards Tetra Rouge. We've got Neil and Stevie there. So Neil's there, Stevie 5 seconds behind. So again, a bit more spread out in the GT class now, but that could close up as the race goes on. So watch this space. As we look at the LMP battle approaching Mulsanne corner. So they're almost just under half a lap ahead of the GT class now already. We're only on lap 3. It shows you the pace of these cars. As you look at Blakeney coming out of Mulsanne corner, down towards the next bit, as Keith has been caught there by RZR, who just about stops the car into Mulsanne. He's really overdriving that car, pushing very, very hard indeed. There he is. I know he's got a light missing, but the damage is actually off, but the game still thinks that the damage is on, so unfortunately that's why it looks like he's got a light out. As we go down towards Indianapolis, Keith closes up to the back of RZR. Just keep an eye on this for a moment. We go down to Indianapolis. RZR being patient there, just letting off the power as we go in towards Indianapolis. Definitely got the pace over Keith here. Keith not really doing as well in this one. He will be good in this last section, but he'll not be good in the first section, which is where the Marek is quite good. And then out of here onto the straight. RZR hits the hybrid and goes straight through past Keith. I think Keith lifted a bit there just to let him go, because I think he knew he was faster. So good job there by Keith. I know they're not teammates, but still. There's no point holding a faster car up, and you might as well just try and run your own race, because it is a long race. 12 laps of this to do. So good sensible stuff there from Keith. As we look back, and then Growly Bear's right on the back of Stacker now. Growly Bear's right on the back of Stacker. As we go into the Ford chicane, Growly Bear gets close, but not close enough to make a move. Stacker has to wait in the background. So Blakeney and Growly Bear into the chicane. Growly Bear doesn't get a very good run out of the corner, but then he uses the hybrid, but then the Toyota's across the line and gets his hybrid back and pulls away. Growly Bear still staying with him still. As we go up through the Dunlop S's, as Blakeney outbrakes himself, and I thought he was going to outbrake himself there for a minute, but it's just the stopping power of that Toyota that is phenomenal. So he pulls away out of the Dunlop chicane and down towards the S's. As here James Deluxe and Cyrex quite close together. James Deluxe on the inside. Just defends the inside slightly, or just went a bit too hot through the previous bit, but however that it was, it meant it defended quite well in towards Arnage. They're still sticking with Callum quite well, so Callum not pulling away too much in that Ford GT. So clearly Callum not having the pace that he would desire in this to keep with Bidzster, because Bidzster's about 4 seconds up the road. Oh sorry, 7 seconds up the road even, so yeah, Bidzster's 7.7 seconds up the road from Callum, just in the start of these Porsche curves. And here's Callum coming up to that same corner. And then we've got James Deluxe and Cyrex just behind, and James Deluxe goes very wide there. That's going to let Cyrex close right up to the back of him. Now that Ferrari right on the back of that Porsche as we go through the Porsche curves. No pun intended, as we go through the Porsche curves and out through the little Corvette curves here. As Cyrex goes very wide there, but he has lost a little bit of time. He's not closed up, so that will probably not count as a track limits, because he's not actually gained time from it. So down towards the chicane, the gap maintains itself. And the position's maintained the same as we go into the last chicane. James Deluxe with a very tight line through there. He's going to lose speed compared to Cyrex, but not enough for Cyrex to get close enough to make a move. As there's Stevie coming into the fourth chicane now. So sun rising here at Le Mans. So sunrise imminent here at Le Mans. Footman goes down towards Indianapolis. He's well in control of this race, 12 seconds ahead of Blakeney, and their LMP1 pit window is open, and also for the GT cars, because they've just gone on to their 4th lap. So everyone's got until the start of lap 9, or the end of lap 8, the start of lap 9, to do their pit stop. Then after that, the pit window will close. As we look back at Growly Bear, he's left Stacker, and he's trying to... or should I say he's left Blakeney, because Blakeney's pulled away. And he's going back into the hands of Stacker there. And we go into the Indianapolis section and then up towards Arnage. Very deceiving and tight right-hander, one of the slowest corners on the track. And then they power up towards the Porsche curves, straight from about 40-50 mile an hour all the way up to 150 mile an hour in about probably a good 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So incredible acceleration from these LMP cars as they go down towards the Porsche curves. And then, but still, these GT cars are no slouch, as Cyrex is now in front of James Deluxe. So James Deluxe has made a mistake somewhere, and Cyrex has got through. So Cyrex through into 9th position there. And then look who that is in the background, it's Neil. Neil's in the background, not too far back. And that glorious sound of that Corvette. Brilliant stuff. As we go down the straight. So James Deluxe and Cyrex, the battle to watch at the minute. James Deluxe closes up in the Porsche. Will he go for the inside? Will he go out for the move on the brakes? Oh no, he thinks about it, but then moves back onto his normal line. Not going to bother with it that time. Didn't feel like he was close enough, and there's no point taking a risk at this stage of the race, or really any stage of the race, to be honest, because it is an endurance race. You don't want to risk too much. As the Ferrari pulls away from the Porsche, but then the Porsche is in the draft, but he'll probably not get close enough to have a go into Mulsanne unless he gets a really good tow, which I think he's actually quite got here, so it might be close enough to make a move. We'll see. Down towards Mulsanne corner, onto the brakes. Nope, not close enough yet. Cyrex maintains the line into that corner. They are allowed to go over the white line on the exit of that, on the entrance to that corner, because the track is quite narrow there anyway, so I am allowing that, as you can see there. There's Stevie a bit further back. He's struggling in that Ford GT. Had a few spins when it was dark. And TY is still struggling in that Aston Martin, so Blakeney and TY both struggling in that Aston Martin. But they did pick the car, they did want to run with it, so that's what they've got for the rest of the season. So Growly Bear has just made his pit stop. Growly Bear is the first one to make his pit stop, and also we've got a Toyota behind him, that's Stacker. So Growly Bear and Stacker make the pit stops, but Growly Bear, again, very late off that pit limiter. Cannot seem to disable it, and Stacker goes, thank you. I will take that place. If you're going to be that slow off your limiter and be that asleep, I'll take that place. So Stacker and Growly Bear, the first to make their pit stops then in this as we go down the hill. So we've got Footman and Blakeney there still going, Arzadar as well, Keith still going also. So Stacker and Growly the first ones to make the pit stops. So the GTE cars now coming up to the through the Porsche curves and out down towards where the pit lane entrance is. Let's see if anyone goes in this time. Will Bidzster go in this time? 9-second lead over Callum now. So really dominating proceedings here is Bidzster in this class, but still one mistake could change it all. The race is definitely not won yet. We're not even halfway, so still a long way to go in this race as Bidzster goes round another lap as Callum goes through there. You can see Bidzster go through the last part of the chicane. So will Callum pit this time? Will he go in early? No, he won't. James Deluxe and Cyrex still very close as Cyrex decides this is the time to pit. Let's stop the battle. Let's try and get in the pits, set a few fast laps and see if we can catch up. So James Deluxe has now got to get a move on because Cyrex is there, and also Neil as well. So Neil will see Cyrex go into the pits, so he'll be on it as well. As Stevie goes through, and poor old TY's not even out the Porsche curves yet, so TY will get there eventually. So Stevie goes across the line there. As you look back at Blakeney in second place on his own there in second place, and Footman, he's already into the Porsche curve, so we'll have to see if Footman pits this lap as well. There's Arzadar, he's still pushing hard in the Marek. Down towards Arnage, not looking pretty, but it's looking quite quick. I always say if it looks pretty, then you're not going fast enough. If it looks a bit ugly and it looks a bit reckless, then you're going on the limit. So down towards the Ford chicane, Footman goes round again. Footman does not pit this time and goes round again. Blakeney, now it's his turn to see if he goes into the pit lane. Will Blakeney pit this lap or will he go round? We'll just have a quick check on where Arzadar is. Oh, Arzadar's spun! Arzadar's gone off somewhere. He spun at the start of the Porsche curves, and Keith will not be far behind now. There's Keith, so he's just coming around where Arzadar set off, so he's not far behind. Blakeney goes round another lap. Oh, a bit of track limits there, but he did slow right down for it, so not getting too much time there. As Arzadar Blade comes round out of the Porsche curves. There's Keith, just coming round the same corner. So we'll have to see if these two cars decide to pit this lap or not. On lap 5 as we go. No, Arzadar decides to go round again. Will Keith pit? Yes, he does. Keith is into the pits now. So Keith into the pits. Stacker and Growley just approaching the Porsche curves now in the Toyota and the RWD. Growley Bear has gone back from Stacker a bit there, so Stacker definitely on the move. So Growley not having a good out lap from this pit stop. So Keith in the pits then in the number 2 Audi into the pits. So Bidzster coming down the Mulsanne straight. Has any of the GT boys pitted this lap? I don't know if they have or not. Obviously Cyrex has already, I know that. And TY obviously not pitted yet, but he was quite far behind anyway. So none of them decided to pit yet. So Footman's just coming around to lap those guys there. There goes Arzadar Blade. I'm just trying to get myself acquainted with who's where now, guys. So Stacker goes through, passes Keith. And now let's see if Growley Bear comes into the pits again. So clearly something went wrong with that last pit stop. And Growley's had to pit again, so not good signs there for Growley Bear. Probably didn't select his strategy or change something properly, because obviously I've done a pit stop video. I've covered every single scenario for a pit stop so people can get it right, but obviously not made sure one of the boxes are ticked, and then he's in the pits again. As we go and watch Callum coming down towards Indianapolis, in towards Indianapolis corner there. Lovely corner there for Callum, as then we watch James Deluxe come into there, followed by Neil as well. Not too far behind is Neil. There he is in the Corvette. Beautiful sound from that Corvette. I know I keep saying it is, but it just is. It's a beautiful noise from that machine. As Stevie in there in 11th place. Cyrex now in front of TY, so TY's obviously had another spin somewhere, so not enjoying that Aston Martin one bit. This Footman comes down towards that same bit of track as well. There goes Blakeney, he's out of Mulsanne corner. Arzadar still going round as well. Don't think Arzadar's been. Can't remember if Arzadar's been in the pits yet, because I've been focused on that many different things. But don't think he has. I think he's just had a few spins in that. So yeah, Keith has come out of the pits ahead of Growley Bear, obviously, because Growley Bear's had a few issues there in that car, and he's had to pit again. So Growley Bear comes out in 6th place, last in class. So let's see if he can gain anything, and he's on it now. He feels a lot more comfy in that car now. He's on it, unless he changed to a different compound unexpectedly and had to change back, but we'll never know. But he's now back going, but he's got 38 seconds to Keith, and that's only to Keith, and then Keith's got about another 10 or 11 seconds for each position onwards, so quite a gap there between all the cars. As we look at Footman coming down towards the pit lane, and yes, Footman's in. The leader is in the pits. So, he goes across the gravel. That could be a penalty because he's shortcutted the way into the pits. So not good there for Footman. That could be a penalty at the end of the race, so we'll have to see. So Blakeney goes through there. He's about to lap TY. So will he pit this lap? Will he lap him and go into the pits, or will he go round again? I don't know if he's going to. Yes, he's going to go round again. So Blakeney chooses to go round again. Footman still in the pits. Still, we've got a Porsche in. That's not Bidzster, that's James Deluxe. James Deluxe in the pits. And Neil Farmack as well. So James and Neil Farmack pit. And there goes Cyrex. So that obviously worked for Cyrex. He's gone straight through. Remember, they were having a battle earlier. Got some clean laps in. And he's come out ahead. So good tactics there by Cyrex. And there's Blakeney who takes the lead in the LMP1 class. Because there's Footman coming out the pit lane. Arzadar goes round again. So Arzadar leaving it very late for his pit stop. And kicking up some kitty litter while he's at it. So there's the LMP1 cars that have pitted there. So let's go through. So the GT class. So we've got Bidzster who's not pitted yet. Callum hasn't pitted yet either. Stevie, nope, he's not pitted yet. So then Cyrex, TY hasn't pitted either, but Cyrex, Neil and James Deluxe have all pitted there. So Neil and James Deluxe, there they are. And Neil's actually got ahead of James Deluxe into the pits. So James Deluxe loses a couple of places there during those pit stops, so he's got work to do. TY ahead, he's not actually pitted yet, so he's actually quite far back from these lot, but having a bit of a problem in that Aston Martin this race. And this was probably going to be the strongest track for the Aston Martin with all the straight line speeds, with the Aston having about another 5 mile an hour top end speed, but never mind. Doesn't always go the way that you think it's going to go. As Blaney comes out of the first chicane, down the straight, 17 seconds to Footman, but remember Footman's already been in the pits. So it's Arzadar and Blakeney who have not pitted yet in the LMP1 class, and then in the GTE class it is Bidzster, Callum and Stevie who have not pitted yet in the GTE class. So they're the ones to watch out for, to see where they come out compared to the rest. So let's see if we've got any battles on the track at the moment. So we've got Stacker there who's 7 seconds ahead of Keith. I'm just trying to find a little battle for us guys, so just bear with me a moment. We've got, here we go, Neil and TY, even though TY's already been, Neil and James Dux have already been in the pits, and TY's really struggling with that car, you can see, because he's just gone wide there. So that Project Cars have really made the handling of that Aston Martin awful in this game, when really it's one of the best handling GT cars out there, but in real life. But never mind, as Footman works his way through the traffic, and then we've got Arzadar just behind. Remember, Arzadar's not pitted yet either, so Blakeney and Arzadar yet to pit in the LMP1 class as Footman goes ahead. And we've got GTE boys going round there as we watch TY with James Deluxe behind him. And Arzadar closing up as well in the LMP1 car, and he goes straight past these guys like they're standing still. There we go, straight through. Neil Farmer can probably stay to one side as well, let him go through. There we go, easy as that. 3 cars in one straight, and off he goes into the distance. So Bidster's coming up to the pit lane now. Let's see if Bidzster comes into the pits, as Blakeney and Arzadar are nowhere near yet. So let's see if Bidzster comes into the pits this time. He thought about it, but nope. Goes round again, so clearly quite comfortable with these tyres and the pace so far as he drifts into that corner. Beautiful lines there from Bidzster. And let's see if Callum comes into the pits this time. Nope, Callum's going to go around again. And again, he's going to push hard through this chicane, try and keep up all the speed. And again, beautiful lines there from that Ford GT also. Good job there by Callum. Good consistent pace. A lot more comfortable in this GTE car than he was last time out in the LMP1. Stevie in the pits then in the green Ford GT. So Footman's teammate into the pits, and Blakeney is going round again. So Blakeney leaving it very late on the pit stops here. So the LMP1 cars, this will be their last lap to pit, and Blakeney crosses the line this time as Stevie in the pits there. There goes Footman. He's going to eventually take the lead when Blakeney comes in, because he's leaving it very late, is Blake. And is Arzadar coming in yet? No, he's not. So Arzadar Blade leaving it till very late in the pit stops as well, as he slightly cuts the track there, but gets away with it. So Blakeney and Arzadar need to pit this lap. So they need to pit this lap. As we look at Bidzster, he's still going round. Callum also. There goes Cyrex, and where's Stevie? He's coming down the pit lane. There's James Deluxe. So let's watch Stevie coming out the pits here. Let's see if we get a wide angle shot. There he is. So James Deluxe is coming through, and he's going to come out just in front of TY, and Neil's a lot further back. So Neil's had a few problems on that lap, and James Deluxe has gone ahead. So Neil has had a problem, and he's gone right back down to last place, even though TY hasn't pitted yet. So TY theoretically is last place because he's not pitted, but we'll see. So just TY, Callum and Bidzster to pit in the GT class, and Blakeney and Arzadar in the top class. James Deluxe almost hits those bollards there. They both lost it at the same time. James Deluxe and Stevie spin round. TY hits the brakes in panic mode and goes round and tries to go round him, but Stevie and James Deluxe practicing the ballet and do the same mistake at the same time. Amazing stuff. But James Deluxe has gone right back now. Neil says thank you very much, Sunshine, I'll take that place back. And James Deluxe falls back down to 13th place. So lucky for some, but hopefully not for James. So we'll see if he can close back up to Neil. So that's made things a bit more exciting then. So Neil gets 12th place back with James Deluxe behind. TY passing Stevie. He doesn't care that he's not pitted yet. He's going to race people whenever he can, and gets past with that Aston Martin speed, but then into the corners. This is where he has to be tippy-toe around the corners, because the back end on this car is so unnerving. See how carefully he is onto the straight, and Stevie's able to get alongside again. But then the Aston Martin gets that power down. Not giving up on that speed, as we just have a look on board with Stevie here, just to see how fast that Aston Martin is. As you see, we're alongside it, but we're not gaining too much. So clearly that Ford GT quite quick in itself as well. As we go down to the next chicane, TY on the inside, Stevie battling him on the outside. And TY gets the position for now, but again, he'll have to be very ginger on the power out the corner, and that's where Stevie will be able to close up again. Stevie goes for the inside. Tries to go through. TY still going to battle him hard for this. As we go side by side, Aston Martin versus Ford GT. Down towards Mulsanne corner. We've got James Deluxe and Neil quite close in the back, and Neil quite close in the background as well, I think. As Stevie goes for the inside of TY into Mulsanne corner, gets the job done. Brilliant move there by Stevie. Class act, gets the job done. As James Deluxe and Neil Farmack still not too far behind each other, and then we've got an LMP behind them. Is that Stacker? Yes, it is. Stacker behind them, going through on the straight in the Toyota. So now, Blakeney and Arzadar have got to pit this lap. They have got to come into the pits this lap, and he's in. And also Bidzster's in as well. So Bidzster's in the pits in front in the Porsche. So Blakeney over the gravel a bit there, but he did slow himself up. So Bidzster and Blakeney then. There they go. There's Bidzster and there's Blakeney into the pits. So Footman will resume the lead in LMP1 as we've got a car spinning off there. Is that Callum? Callum spins off and then he's gone off to one side. I don't know what's happened here, but he's going to the pits unless he made a mistake on the way in. That was very unusual. So we'll get a replay on that quickly. Okay, here's the replay of what happened to Callum as he came into the pits. So as you see here, he's actually not planning to pits. He goes past. He goes over the curb, then loses it, loses control of the car, goes right off onto the gravel, and then for some reason doesn't steer the car. It's like it's in shock of what's happened, and then eventually finds a gear and thinks, right, okay, well I might as well pit now since I'm over here, and then get it over and done with. So then he comes into the pits. So as we come back from that, Callum in the pits then, and then we see Arzadar appear in the background. So Arzadar has come into the pits. So Arzadar there into the pits. So that's everyone making their pit stop then. The only person who's not pitted yet is TY. So TY should be in either this lap or the next lap because the GTE cars have got another lap to do for their pit window. So just to run through then, Footman in the lead in LMP1. Blakeney coming out the pits. He's going to be in second place in LMP1. Good job there by Blake, and Bidzster resumes the lead in GTE also. So Bidzster's going to get passed by Blakeney here just as he comes out these corners. Blakeney will probably go to the inside and go through. Oh, he's been very hesitant, clearly not trusting Bidzster, but again, the GTE cars do get right of way on the racing line, so the LMP1 cars have to get around the GTE cars. I know I've mentioned that a lot in this championship, but it's worth reminding you. So as we go through Tetra Rouge, Bidzster will keep to the left. Blakeney will eventually go to the right hand side. There he goes, moves across. Blakeney goes through. Clean as a whistle. And on with his race. And so does Bidzster. Arzadar Blade has come out the pits in third position. So Arzadar Blade gets third position. Stacker back there down to fourth. So Arzadar Blade with some good with some good pace in those few laps. And Stacker down to fourth. Keith in fifth. And then Growly Bear after having to make a couple of pit stops in that race, but he's now only 10 seconds behind Keith. He's closed in 20 seconds over the last time we properly saw him, which was about 4 laps ago. So Growly Bear is definitely on it, he's definitely on the pace, so this actually could be a good result for Growly Bear. It could be a top 4 if he keeps this up with this pace. So we'll see how it goes for him. So Bidzster then, as I said before, in the lead of GTE now, and then Cyrex is in second place in GTE. He's only... Let's have a look, he's only 10 seconds behind Bidzster now, so he's actually closed in quite a bit, Cyrex here. So Cyrex with the man on the pace here. Callum in 9th place there in the Ford GT, who's just been lapped by Arzadar and about to be lapped by Stacker as well. So Callum going down the straight, 6 seconds behind Cyrex. TY is there, but obviously remember he's not pitted yet, but TY will have to pit this lap because this will be the last lap of the pit window for the GTE cars. Neil Farmack is in 11th with Stevie right on his tail. So Stevie is right behind Neil now, applying the pressure. So he's caught back up. So Stevie trying to go around the outside of Neil. Neil defends the inside in that Corvette. Brakes hard for the chicane. Stevie cannot find a way around here, but that Corvette has got good top end speed as well as the Ford GT. Both cars are evenly matched. In fact, dare I say, all the GT cars are very evenly matched, apart from the Aston Martin, which is a handful on handling for some reason. So the Corvette versus Ford GT battle down the straight. Stevie on the inside. Gets on the inside of Neil Farmite down towards Mulsanne corner. This could be a good move here if he can get on the brakes, but he can't. The Corvette very good on the brakes, keeps his normal racing line and keeps ahead. So Neil and Stevie, the battle rages on as they go out of that corner. As we see James Deluxe spin in the background. James Deluxe has spun round in the background, so he's clearly trying too hard in that car there. So gets going again, but unlucky there for James Deluxe. That throws him off the scent of Stevie and Neil. As we look at Cyrex, there he is in the Ferrari. He's still trying to catch up to Bidzster. Callum only 7 seconds behind. He's just come out of Arnage. And here's Neil and Stevie still battling at it in the GTE class. Brilliant scrap this. As Neil goes wide, he makes a little mistake, a little twitch mid-corner. Just carrying a bit too much speed into the corner. Stevie goes to dive on the brakes into Arnage, but thinks twice about it. Not going to get through there. So Stevie really piling the pressure on in that Ford GT. Neil resisting with all he can. Try not to look in his mirrors and see that green ball in his mirror darting left to right, trying to put that pressure on. We all know Stevie's a very aggressive driver and he's good at putting pressure on, but we all know Neil is a very resilient driver. He will not give up on a position unless he absolutely has to. Into the porch curbs we go. This is where the Ford GT will be a bit better than the Corvette around these corners. Not what suits the Corvette really. We'll see as we go around these corners. We've got an LMP1 catching up to them as well. That's Keith behind in the LMP1 Audi, catching up to him. And Stevie goes a bit wide here, so clearly a bit put off in the mirrors by that Audi. And then here comes the Audi passing Stevie in the background. There he goes, straight past. And now it's his time to get past Keith. So last lap of the pit window. TY is in the pits, there we can see him. TY comes into the pits. We can't see him now, but I'll show you quickly in a minute. As Neil comes through the last chicane. Over the curbs, very nicely done. There's TY making his official pit stop, so TY in the pits, that'll send him to the back. But it might be close because James Deluxe has made a few mistakes, so we'll see. As Keith laps the two GTE cars there, and then we've got another GTE car coming up behind them. I think that's Growly Bear. Growly Bear is now within 2.3 seconds of Keith. You can see the gap there. Growly Bear has brought that gap right down. As he goes past Stevie there, Stevie leaves him a bit of room, so very nice of him to do so. He didn't have to, because the GT cars do have right of way, but still that doesn't mean that if you want to get out of the way that you can. So then Growly Bear gets past Neil even before the straight, meaning business here. So onto the straight we go, and powers on down, chasing that man in front of him, Keith, which is this man here in the Audi. So let's have a look at the gaps then of the positions. So we've got Footman 31 seconds ahead of Blakeney. Brilliant driving here by Footman, not put a foot wrong all race. Footman has not put a foot wrong. But yeah, Footman in the lead, dominating proceedings, and that will not be what Bidzster wants to hear, because he's battling Footman in the championship, because they've both been very successful in their classes this season, and it's literally the fastest lap and the extra point for pole that are going to be probably the key deciders in this championship. As Footman, there's a little wobble there, but it just shows he's still pushing on. Then we've got Blakeney behind, 30 odd seconds behind. Footman, who makes a mistake there, with Arzadar Blade only 20 seconds behind. There he is, Arzadar Blade, and then Stacker is 7 seconds behind him, still chasing him down there, coming down towards Indianapolis. Then we've got Keith 34 seconds back from Stacker, but now he's got Growly Bear 1.5 seconds. You can see the gap there. There goes Keith, there goes Growly Bear. That is going to be a good battle towards the end of the race. And hopefully this time we'll be able to see it, but if not, then we'll have to see. There's Bidzster, he's in the lead of the GTE class, only 8 seconds now to Cyrex, so Cyrex has brought it in a bit, so Bidzster will have to get the move on. There's Cyrex going through that same shot. There's Callum, he's about 8 seconds back from Cyrex, so they're all quite an even gap between them at the moment. Then we've got Stevie here, who's 16 seconds behind Callum. He's just coming into Mulsanne corner now, so about the length of the straight between them. And Stevie goes out of that Mulsanne corner, 5 seconds behind him. There's Neil, just coming around that same corner there. So Neil 5 seconds behind him. James Deluxe is 7 seconds behind Neil. And TY as expected with that Aston Martin. Oh, James Deluxe has spun again though. James Deluxe has spun again, and he's had to reset. He's auto-reset the car and gets going again. But TY there, if James Deluxe keeps making them kind of mistakes, TY will get past him for sure. So let's go back to the Stevie Neil battle, and Stevie's pulled ahead of Neil obviously a little bit more there. So Growly Bear is now ahead of Keith. Growly Bear's got ahead. We missed that pass. We'll get a replay on it. Here's the replay of how Growly Bear got past Keith, so Keith didn't really get a good run out of that corner, but I think Keith knows there's not much point in fighting because Growly's just got the faster car and lets him go straight through. So as we come back from that then, Growly Bear takes 5th place and now he's chasing Stacker, but the thing is there is a 26-second gap and only after this lap's finished, only 2 laps to do it, which is probably going to be an impossible task, but if you can keep the pace up and Stacker makes a mistake, then you never know. So it's not over until the checkered flag falls. As we see Callum there with Keith behind him, about to get lapped here. So Callum in a solid 3rd place here in class. Cyrex trumping those other cars in the pit lane. Obviously an earlier pit stop and then getting his foot down and really pressing on towards the end of the race. Or in that middle part of the race, should I say. As Callum comes out of there and he's flashing his lights just at Keith, let him know I'm keeping out of the way. There you go, and then lets him go through. And there goes Keith off chasing Growly Bear. So not the best race for Keith in this one. The Audi not as suited to Le Mans as the other cars. Surprising to hear an Audi not suited to Le Mans, but compared to the other cars around in his class, it's not really. It's good through the Porsche curves and the tight corners, but it's not good everywhere else. So there's Footman, he's coming down the back straight, and unfortunately the time is going to tick out on this replay again. So I do apologise about this, ladies and gentlemen, but this is a Slightly Mad Studios Project Cars problem. So Project Cars 2 problem. So if you've got any complaints, please don't complain to this channel because it's not my fault. I've done all I can, but unfortunately the replays are being cut short because there's a problem with the file sizes on Project Cars 2, and you can't save over a certain file size. So 2 40-minute races apparently is the most that Project Cars 2 replays can hold, which is pathetic compared to Gran Turismo, where I've got at least 70 or 80 replays saved, and I can still go even more if I wanted to. So Project Cars, you've been told, and Slightly Mad Studios, please sort this out. It is an embarrassing problem for you. As we go down towards the chicane, Footman in the lead of the race. 2 minutes 25 left on the replay with just over a 3-minute lap remaining. So that's not going to be enough to see the end of the race. So I'll have to give you a lowdown of what actually happened, unfortunately, at the end. So Blakeney there in 2nd place, Azadar 3rd so far, Stacker in 4th, Growly in 5th place and Keith in 6th. Then we've got Bidzster leading the GT class there, just being passed by Growly. And then we've got Cyrex just behind, 9 seconds behind now. So Bidzster really got his foot down there and started extending the gap because he could feel Cyrex closing up as Keith goes through there to lap Cyrex. There's Callum, he's just come out of that shot behind out the chicane. Stevie's just coming down to the 2nd chicane now, followed by Neil about half a length of the straight behind. So not too far of a gap, about 5 seconds. James Deluxe only about quite far back from the others. He's only just coming down to the 1st chicane. But TY is only 4 seconds behind him. So again, James Deluxe has been making mistake after mistake here, and TY is actually closed up. So it could be some kind of gift for TY if James Deluxe still keeps making mistakes. But don't think it's going to turn the weekend fully upright for TY. But if he does get past, then it will help a bit, but not too much, as we see him go down the straight there. So there's Footman, he's just coming out of that chicane that they've just come out of, with 1 minute left of this replay and about 2 minutes left of this lap. So unfortunately not going to see the end of this race, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I'll run through the results when it's done. And we go down towards the chicane for what would be the last time. 2nd chicane for the last time for Footman. He's been ultimately dominant in this race. So yeah, we had a bit more of a fight on in the GT battle. Had a really good fight on in that race. Really good fight. But again, he's been dominant in the LMP1 class. So well done to Footman. Nice dominant show there from him. We go down towards the Mulsanne corner for the last time with 20 seconds left of this replay, which is utterly ridiculous, but again, that's what we've got to play with. As he comes up to lap TY, I'm going to let the time tick down as far as we can before pausing this replay, before it actually ticks over on us. 7, 6, so we're only just halfway around, and I'm going to have to pause it there, ladies and gentlemen. So Footman there is your winner, but again, we'll just get those results confirmed for you now. Okay guys, here's the results from that race then. So Footman takes a commanding win, 23 seconds ahead of Blakeney, who finishes in second. Arzadar Blade gets third, even though he did rack up 22 seconds worth of track limit penalties, but still gets third anyway. Stacker finishes in fourth, Growly Bear in fifth, and Keith in sixth position in LMP1. Then as we switch the pace to the GT3, Bidzster wins that one, again dominant fashion for Bidzster. Sarek's in a well-deserved second, even though he did have 7 seconds worth of time penalty, but still keeps his second place in class. Then it's Callum from Stevie, then it's Neil Farmack in 11th, 12th is James Deluxe, and an unlucky 13th for TY. And now we go over to the points, guys. So Footman leads the championship from Bidzster by 6 points in the driver's standings, from Neil Farmack in third place, Callum fourth, and Growly Bear in fifth on 66 points. So 2 points between the 1 point between the teammates there. In the teams, 151 for Bidzster and Stacker, who take the lead in the team's championship. And then there's your results down below. So as you come back from that then, the green car on your right of picture there is Footman, and he has won the LMP1 class. And then we've got Bidzster here, who has won the GTE class again in his category. So well done to Bidzster there, and well done to Footman. Good racing throughout by all. Utterly enjoyed this weekend. Pleasure commentating as usual. And we will see you guys next time for a special event with a track that is not really suited to these cars, but again, it's been put in there for the fun, and it is Monaco. So we'll see you guys next week for Monaco. Take care, guys.